Martell Holt in court on August 18th has everybody talking. I need you to stick with me until the end of this video, because the way this played out is wild. What seemed like it was going to be a tough case for Martell somehow ended up turning into yet another moment where he seems to slip right past the kind of consequences most people thought he would face. And when I tell you the details matter here, they really do, because how this case was handled could have a huge impact on not only Martell, but also Melody, Shari, and their upcoming custody hearing. So sit tight, grab a snack if you need to, and let's break this down step by step, because by the time we finish, you're going to see exactly why fans are so divided and why this storyline is far from over. Now, let's rewind a bit and make sure everybody's on the same page. Early last year, in 2024, Martell Holt was convicted of DV harassing communications. Yes, domestic violence harassing communications. That's serious, no matter how you spin it. He pled guilty to that charge, and after that, he filed an appeal. The plan was for that appeal trial to happen in August 2025. So people were watching closely, thinking this was Martell's big showdown in court. A lot of fans were hoping that maybe this time accountability would finally catch up to him. But, y'all, instead of moving forward with a full-blown appeal trial, Martell and the assistant prosecutor sat down and worked out a deal. And let me just say, this deal is exactly what has people so shocked right now. Here's what actually happened. Martell's guilty plea was already on record. He had admitted guilt in the past. And once you make an appeal, the burden shifts to you. You've got to show why that conviction should be overturned. You have to prove that the courts or the prosecutor made a mistake the first time around. But in this case, it never even got that far because Martell and the prosecutor decided to settle things with a plea agreement. So instead of walking into court for a full appeal trial, the whole thing shifted into negotiation. And what came out of that negotiation is what everybody can't stop talking about. Martell ended up pleading guilty to harassing communications. Now pay attention, because here's the key part. The DV was completely removed from the charge. Domestic violence harassing communications is a much heavier charge, even though it's still considered a misdemeanor. But the domestic violence label carries weight, especially in Alabama. And especially when you're dealing with custody issues. For reasons that weren't fully explained in the documents, the DV part was taken off. That means Martell is now only carrying a conviction for harassing communications, which is seen as a lesser charge. Why was the DV removed? That's the big question. The paperwork doesn't say. It could be a variety of reasons. Maybe Martell's team showed the prosecutor something. Maybe it was a matter of cost and resources. Maybe the prosecutor just didn't want to drag this case out any longer. Whatever the reason, the judge reviewed it, accepted the plea deal, and that was that. Now, what does this mean in terms of punishment? Martell was ordered to pay a $300 fine plus $100 in court costs. So $400 total. No probation. No jail time. And here's the kicker: his past record that had probation connected to it now looks like it has been wiped clean. All he's left with is this single charge of harassing communications. For Martell, on paper, this is a win. He avoided the heavier DV conviction, he avoided time behind bars, and he avoided probation. But for fans and for Melody, the bigger story is what this means moving forward. See. Melody was waiting for the outcome of this case before moving forward with their custody battle. And here's why that matters. Alabama law takes domestic violence convictions seriously when it comes to child custody. If Martell had walked into custody court with a DV conviction on his record, that could have seriously damaged his chances of getting custody or even joint custody. Judges in Alabama frowned heavily upon parents who have DV convictions tied to their name. In some cases, it can remove custody altogether. So you can imagine why Martell was fighting so hard to get that DV part taken off the charge. With it gone, his custody chances are stronger than they would have been otherwise. And that is why fans are so frustrated, because it feels like Once again, Martell managed to come out lighter than expected. Now y'all know the fans of Love and Marriage. Huntsville are never quiet. And social media exploded after the update dropped. Some people said this was just another example of Martell finding a way to escape accountability. Others said this was a smart move on his part because now he can walk into the custody hearing without the DV hanging over his head. But either way, the reactions have been loud. And you already know that once this gets addressed on the show, cast members like Letitia Scott, Marsa Scott, Maury Scott, and Kimmy Scott are going to have opinions. Miss Wanda Tooby, because if there's drama, Miss Wanda is never far behind. With her unfiltered commentary, the recent court appearance has left fans dissecting every detail of Martell Holt's case. While the outcome may have seemed minor on paper, adduced charges and a $300 fine, the symbolic weight of this decision has sparked heated debate. Many viewers of Love and Marriage, Huntsville, feel that Martell has been able to maneuver through legal trouble without facing the full consequences of his actions. For a man whose behavior has been under public scrutiny for years, the courtroom's leniency struck many as another chapter in a story of escaping accountability. For some fans, however, the court's decision wasn't shocking at all. They argue that Martell has built a pattern of deflecting responsibility. Whether it's in his relationships, business ventures, or parenting, the idea that a serious charge could dissolve into a fine felt like yet another instance of Martell slipping through the cracks. Critics voiced frustration that the legal system seemed to echo the same frustrations viewers have expressed. About his personal life, plenty of warnings, but little follow-through. On the flip side, a small segment of Martell's supporters celebrated the outcome, seeing it as a relief for a father already burdened with custody battles and public criticism. These supporters suggested that the reduced charges might give Martell a chance to reset and prove he can rise above the chaos. Yet this optimism was quickly drowned out by louder voices arguing that he has repeatedly been given chances, only to squander them. The decision also drew comparisons between Martell's situation and Melody Cherie's resilience. Fans pointed out how, despite endless obstacles, Melody continues to push